I don't normally wear these shoes. Oh, maybe I'll stop there. I'm unbalanced. No. I saw her with like the golf up in the air. I know. It's a friend that that's different. All my photos. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
on that really strong stuff. Remember when he had he had to take that one medicine. Remember he had to stay in the hospital for 4 or 5 days. Well, he's realized he has to take it the same time every day. And it's I don't know medicine.
Good evening. Wow, it is so wonderful to see all of you in person, in real life. Thank you so much for joining us this evening to celebrate CAP Services and our community. On behalf of all of us at CAP Services, I want to welcome you and thank you for celebrating 55 years of CAP's mission and action. We have come a long way. We have come a long way since 1966, and we would not be here today without each and every one of you. Your support, generosity, and dedication to CAP's programs and services is what continues to help our agency grow. We have faced some unique challenges since I accepted the responsibility to lead the agency just 2 years ago. So for those of you who I have not yet met, I am Nicole Harrison, and I am the current CEO for CAP, and I assumed this role in June of 2020. So that gives you a little bit of a window into the timeline of what the agency has been experiencing since I've been in this role. So in fact, tonight is the first time I am meeting some of our very own board members and some staff members for the very first time in person. I know them all well through the video camera, but it is really nice to see everyone here tonight. This past year was more challenging than the first in many ways. But throughout it all, we remained diligent to ensure that we were able to continue providing services throughout our 5-county service area. And we could not have done that without each of you. So whether you are a staff member, a board member, a volunteer, community member, program participant, investor, community partner, local leader, or legislator, you have played a part in advancing CAP's mission. We would not have been able to accomplish our work without community support. So I would like for all of you to give yourselves a round of applause. So here's just a little teaser. There were over 8,000 people who were impacted by CAP's programs in 2021. You will see on your tables that our 2021 annual report is near completion, and that will be available on our website in the very near future. If you would like a hard copy of that report, please complete that card that is on your table and leave it on the table so that we can collect your information at the end of the evening and make sure one gets mailed to you. It is very important that we share what our successes have been over the past year. There have been challenges that we have not been able to anticipate. But tonight is for celebrating, and our work continues. Every 3 years, CAP conducts a needs assessment to determine priority initiatives in our local community. Over the past several months, CAP's planning and leadership team have been working on this assessment, gathering input from stakeholders in our community. We will use this information to help guide our efforts for the next 3 years. The final report will be available on our website this fall. And tonight, we are here to celebrate the resilience and strength of our community of partners, volunteers, clients, and staff as we work together to advance CAP's mission. And what better way to connect to CAP's mission than to hear inspirational stories? So we will now transition into the awards presentation. Our first series of awards are for participants of our Skills Enhancement program. We are pleased to announce 2 scholarships this evening. The Clarence and Ruth Ruland Scholarship was established in honor of the late Clarence and Ruth Ruland. This scholarship is being awarded to Katie Enriquez. Katie is attending Fox Valley Technical College to receive her associate's degree in nursing. Katie describes herself as a first-generation high school graduate. She credits her mother as her biggest influence to continue her education, as she never had the opportunity to go to school herself. Katie's goal is to become a labor and delivery nurse and eventually a nurse practitioner. She is a compassionate person who always wanted to pursue an education that involves helping others. After taking a CNA course in high school, Katie fell in love with how nurses take care of people. She wants to be able to help people back to health and then help educate them on how to help themselves. She is excited about the many opportunities available for her to help different types of people by pursuing a nursing career. So I'd like to welcome Katie to the stage, and please congratulate Katie on this award.
I want to say thank you. The scholarship is definitely very helpful. And I also want to say thank you to this whole program. They have definitely helped me stay on top of my goals. I wouldn't be in this position if it weren't for you guys. And I also want to thank Iva. She has been a very good mentor to me. She's always there for my physical needs and also my mental needs. And I just want to say a huge thank you to you. Thank you.
The Joanna Sherman Scholarship honors the service of the late Joanna Sherman on CAP's Board of Directors and the Washera County community. This scholarship is being awarded to Jody Alechko, who is attending North Central Technical College for her associate's degree in human services. Jody describes herself as a single mom to her daughter, who is 8 years old. Oh, I have to change that. She's 8.5 years old. And a son, who is 4 years old. She started school with the intent to get a degree and better not just her children's lives, but also her own. Jody's goal is to obtain her human services degree and then pursue a bachelor's degree in social work, which suits her passion of helping others in the community. Jody wants to be a great example to her children by showing that if you work hard, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. Her children are a huge reason she wants to pursue a career helping others. She has always enjoyed helping others, from being a t-ball coach to volunteering at the food pantry. And she thinks it's important to share those experiences with her children. She is excited to pursue a career in human services so she can show them how rewarding a job can be when it comes to giving back to your community. Please join me in congratulating Jody on this award.
I just want to thank everybody in general for everything that you have done, from checking in with me monthly, making sure that I'm on track with school, just being a part of my story. And without scholarships like this, it'd be hard to continue on with education. So, thank you.
We will now move on to the Arlene Stahmer Volunteer Appreciation Award. Arlene Stahmer was a long-time anti-poverty advocate and CAP board member from Marquette County, and this award honors volunteers whose contributions are exemplary. CAP Services Board of Directors created the board in 2015. Tonight, we will be honoring two individuals, Gail Skelton and Nate Wetzel. Gail Skelton was nominated by Family Crisis Center staff and volunteers. We are honoring Gail posthumously for her over 15 years of volunteerism with CAP. Here's the nomination. We wish to nominate Gail Skelton for the CAP Services 2022 Arlene Stahmer Volunteer Award in Memoriam. Gail deserves this recognition and praise for her extraordinary volunteer work at the Family Crisis Center in Stevens Point for 15 years. Gail taught sociology at the University of Stevens Point for 40 years. Because of her educational background and teaching experiences in sociology, she understood family interactions and domestic violence issues when she began volunteering in the year 2000. Initially, Gail helped in the office, answering the phone and greeting women as they came to the center. She also answered the phone during staff meetings. She was always willing to step up when a need arose. Eventually, she became an integral part of a team of 3 women who facilitated the Women's Support Group for women experiencing domestic violence who lived in the center and in the community, led by CAP Services employee Sally Olson, who I know I saw here tonight. There she is. Hi, Sally. Gail continued with her volunteer role with the group until Sally retired from CAP in 2015. Every Monday night for 2 hours, Gail provided constant support for women who came to group. She went to court hearings, family court, and hearings for restraining orders. She was able to take over the group if Sally wasn't available. When volunteers brought meals for the women in group, she helped pack up leftover food for them to take home and cleaned the meeting room after they left. Gail loved eggplant, and every summer she brought her homemade eggplant appetizer to group. The women liked it so much, they would ask, "Do you need eggplant, Gail?" When they brought it in, she would cook it for the following week. Gail was skilled at accepting what the women said without passing judgment. They held her in very high regard. In her time at the Family Crisis Center, she affected the lives of hundreds of women. For over 15 years, the Family Crisis Center was fortunate to have a volunteer of Gail's caliber. She is more than deserving of the Arlene Stahmer Volunteer Service Award, honoring her outstanding service. So at this time, I would like to invite Gail's family to come up and accept the award.
want to say thank you so much for this opportunity to honor my mother posthumously with this award. She was the consummate volunteer. In fact, I gave the eulogy at her funeral, and I alluded to the fact that what she always wanted to be remembered for was the fact that she showed up. And my mom always showed up. She showed up for her family, she showed up for her friends, for her countless volunteer roles, and for 15, although I just talked to Sally, we think it might be closer to 20 in some other roles here at the Family Crisis Center. She showed up as a consummate volunteer. This was her passion. Even in November, when she was very ill with pancreatic cancer, she was talking about the possibility that maybe when she got better, she would come back and volunteer again at the Family Crisis Center. So really appreciate this award, and I know this was the most fulfilling volunteer role that she ever had.
Thank you very much. Yes, my wife was the ultimate volunteer for everything. She even volunteered at the Maine Lobster Festival, selling tickets when we're out in Maine on occasion. But this was very special for her, this particular volunteer group with Sally Olson and Ellie Brush. And she treated it, I think, almost as a second professional career after she retired as a professor. And well, thank you very much for recognizing her.
Our next awardee is Nate Wetzel. Nate was nominated by Portage County Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program Coordinator, Bonnie Kazmarek. Bonnie nominated Nate because he graciously accepted the challenge of being the voluntary backup site coordinator for the Portage County VITA Mid-State Technical College site. He accepted this challenge after meeting Bonnie for the very first time at a training in Wapaka. Bonnie stated she was, these are her words, so confused and frustrated, and he stepped right up and instilled a calmness in her. As this was her first year as coordinator, he not only provided backup, he patiently dealt with, in her words, incessant questions, gave guidance to others as needed, and did not miss a single scheduled day for our tax preparations. He continuously took the extra steps to make sure each volunteer had the necessary information to be successful for the day. As a direct result of Nate's can and will do attitude, we had a very successful tax season. Bonnie credits Nate's knowledge, patience, and willingness to share as the key to what allowed her to be successful in her first year as the Portage County Site Coordinator. She stated that she could not have done it without him. Unfortunately, Nate had a previously scheduled engagement and could not make it tonight, so I would like to ask Bonnie to come to the podium and accept the award on his behalf. Bonnie?
Nate said thank you. And he did. That is him. We have fun when we do this. We have to. And that's him taking a break from actually talking to someone. And I snapped that picture because I said it looked like he was talking to someone in space. Actually, he was a little award that said our spaceman. So he chose that picture to put up there. Thank you.
All right, our final award of the evening is the Pnazek Box Award. This award was named after Carl Pnazek, CAP's longtime CEO. And this award recognizes an individual who, through innovation, initiative, insight, and integrity, creates out-of-the-box ideas and programs that have a positive impact on the people served by CAP or any similar organization. CAP Services Board of Directors created the Pnazek Box Award upon Carl's retirement in 2009. This year's recipient has given his time and talent to serve on the CAP Services Board of Directors for over 25 years cumulatively. He has provided leadership in a variety of roles, serving first as a board member, then vice chair, and has now held his current position as chairperson since 2015. I am talking about our board chair, Brett Jarman. Brett has demonstrated his overall dedication to CAP services by guiding our agency through good times and bad, hopefully mostly good. And he has continued to serve through two changing of the guard with two new CEOs during his tenure. He offered guidance to all. His keen business sense, along with a desire to serve his community, has been an extreme asset to our agency. Not to mention, he is an expert on Robert's Rules of Order, and he has perfected the process of virtual board meetings. And did you know that Brett also dedicates just as much of his time and expertise to the Portage County Humane Society? We are both very lucky to have him. Most recently, Brett took an active interest in ensuring CAP Services information technology infrastructure has advanced appropriately to align with the quickly and ever-changing IT environment. He consistently explained that technology is fundamental to every aspect of our agency operations. Brett further pointed out that proper networking would improve communication, create efficiencies, and increase employee productivity. He offers a keen insight into the increasing national security issues and has encouraged us to fully understand the security importance of our agency's systems. With Brett's involvement, CAP secured a consultant to perform our IT assessments and move forward with a more robust, secure, and updated IT platform. His insight, initiative, innovation, and integrity over the past around 25 years have ensured that CAP is well positioned to continue providing effective services for years to come. For all these reasons and more, we are proud to honor Brett with the 2022 Pnazek Box Award. So at this time, I would like to invite Mary Walters, Cindy Jarvis, and Dan Gabrielson from CAP's Executive Committee to present the award.
Thank you, Nicole. I have served on the CAP board with Brett for 10 years. 9 of those years on the executive committee with him, I consider it an honor. I can tell you that Brett serves with extensive knowledge, experience, and leadership brought with him from his years of employment with Century Insurance. He serves with caring and compassion to support CAP's mission, its programs, and employees. CAP is truly fortunate to have him be part of this organization, and I can think of no one who truly deserves this award more than he does. On behalf of the executive committee and the entire CAP board of directors, thank you, Brett, for your dedication to CAP services. Congratulations.
I would say that I'm honored and humbled to receive this award. But I came prepared to give you just a little bit of background history. So, as a young man, my career at Century Insurance was a computer programmer. One of the skills of a computer programmer is to gather up information requirements and put all those details inside a box. As my career progressed, I learned how much more effective I could be by opening that box and shaking things out. CAP's award ceremonies celebrate the success of CAP and the clients and what the clients have achieved. Each client story helps explain why this CAP agency is serving its mission to transform people in communities to advance social and economic justice. We would not be here tonight if it wasn't for a set of dedicated CAP employees and a committed board of directors working to envision and achieve change. Served on CAP's board of directors, and I had 20 years, but I can now tell you it must be 25 years. In each of these years, I have been inspired by CAP's employees and their teamwork. In 1964, when President Johnson's War on Poverty achieved a win with the passage of the controversial Economic Opportunity Act, I believe he was thinking of agencies like this CAP that would commit to helping people in their communities. CAP's become a large and complex organization. When we consider the number of different programs CAP operates and the collective skills of its employees, it's just immense. To explain CAP and its programs would take several hours. I know it takes that long, because if given the chance, and a glass of wine, I can talk that long. Friends and relatives that have had to invite me to take up a different topic. But I'm going to give you a quick overview because while there are many of you that are employees, I've learned from our, it's not reorganization, what was it we did, the revisioning of the organization a few years ago, that many employees know their own area very well, but there are lots and lots of areas here at CAP. CAP educates. Examples include the Head Start program, the Early Head Start program, child care, small business coaching, and job skills enrichment. CAP provides health and safety services, and examples include Head Start, the dental clinic, family crisis center, and victims of sexual violence programs. CAP provides housing. Examples there include the senior villages, the transitional housing, the emergency heating services, weatherization, and rehabilitation programs. CAP provides financial support. Examples include working wheels, small business loans, and business startup help, first-time buyers assistance, and large business loan programs. CAP provides a wide range of other support, things like interpreters, and emergency rental assistance, and volunteer income tax preparation, which we just heard about. In the past 2 years, CAP has implemented additional programs to provide COVID-19 support, and these programs were implemented while CAP employees were having to learn to work at home, and as their workforce lost about 10% of their employees due to COVID-19 mandates. Before becoming a CAP member, I did not know about our county's poverty levels or understand the problems that low-income people have. I've learned a lot in the last 25 years. CAP provides services in 5 counties: Marquette, Outagamie, Portage, Wapaka, and Waushara. There are 21 directors on CAP's board of directors. 7 are members elected by the low-income community. 7 are elected public representatives. Typically, they are members of their county's board of directors, and 7 come from the profit or nonprofit sectors that represent the community. Board members include talents from the financial, accounting, legal, and information technology fields. CAP has staff members that provide support services to the organization. Accounting, human resources, and information technology are just a few of these specialized teams. Board of Directors is involved in setting direction, organizational oversight, and selection of the Chief Executive Officer. And I've had the pleasure of working with 3 of CAP's talented Chief Executive Officers. Carl Pnazek, whom this award is named after, was a constant dynamo of energy and enthusiasm. Mary Patoka and our current CEO, Nicole Harrison, have followed in Carl's footsteps. Each of these executives lives and breathes CAP's mission, and each has helped CAP grow. CAP not only provides the programs our communities need, they provide them with high levels of transparency, and they consistently pass financial and program audits year after year. I retired from Century a few years ago. In addition to participating in CAP's board of directors, I became a board member and volunteered at a local humane society. Knowledge about CAP programs and operations has allowed me to help the Humane Society to alter their policies and procedures to better support low-income people. found a way to join both of those wonderful organizations together about a year ago when somebody who was checking into the Family Crisis Center had a cat, and they couldn't take the cat into the Family Crisis Center, and she wouldn't go to the Family Crisis Center if there wasn't a place for the cat. So I stepped up and I became a foster for that cat for several months. The young lady was a cat scout, got an apartment a few months later. We remained good friends, and when I chatted with her last week, she said she's attending UWSP. She's studying to become a social worker to help others, and she feels that when she completes her training that she will be uniquely qualified to help because of her experiences. So I'm happy to think that I played a small role in helping her mentor. As I receive this award, I'm accepting it in honor of all of the CAP employees, the board members, and donors whose vision and dedication have helped CAP achieve its mission. The mission is to transform people and communities to advance social and economic justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Brett, for your service to CAP, and congratulations. So that concludes our awards presentation this evening. So please join me in one more round of applause for all of the recipients. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to our keynote speaker, Kao Kalia Yang. Kalia is a Hmong American writer. She is the author of the memoirs The Late Homecomer, a Hmong family memoir, The Song Poet, and Somewhere in the Unknown World. She is also the author of the children's books, A Map into the World, The Shared Room, The Most Beautiful Thing, and Yang Warriors. Please welcome Kalia to the stage to share her story with us. I do this often. Completely good on the stool. Thank you, Nicole, for the introduction. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm particularly, well, first thing, I love Wisconsin. People don't know this about me because I come from Minnesota, but I'm married to a man who was raised for a great part of his life in Wisconsin. And I actually do as much public speaking in Wisconsin as I do in Minnesota, so it's good to be back in Wisconsin. Secondly, the work of CAP. I wouldn't be here today if it were not for services like CAP. And so I'm particularly moved. Jody and Katie, I too made my way into the world of writing because of scholarships like this. So it is really much an honor to be here. It would be fair, though, if I came here without doing a bit of a reading from my work. I am a writer, and I find my words in the stories that have raised me up. In light of the current moment that we're in, the country that we belong to, the world that we're part of, I like to start my comments with a reading from my newest children's book, From the Tops of the Trees. So this is for the little ones. This is for the future that they are building. This is for that beautiful, beautiful future that so many of us in this room are working towards. From the Tops of the Trees by Kao Kalia Yang, illustrated by Rachel Wada. And how I'm going to do this is I'm going to try to hold up the pictures after I'm done reading. I know the visuals are not the best, especially for those of you in the back of the room, so apologies. I should say I graduated to having two different covers, people. When you first enter the world of children's publishing, you can't get different covers. But this is my fifth book. From the Tops of the Trees. My dedication. For the loving arms that hold us high so we can see beyond the fences of our worlds. Rachel's dedication. To Gail, who has gone beyond the tops of the trees to share her story with the world. From the Tops of the Trees. Bombinai Refugee Camp, Thailand, 1985. When the sun gets to the highest point in the sky, the leaves of our favorite tree become a great umbrella of cool for my cousins and me to play under. Hurry! My
throws a ball of rice onto the ground, though races the chickens in the yard to get to it. A bald rooster with black tail feathers beats her. The look on her face is so sad and so hungry, the fun disappears. I wave the lion dog and the Jackie Chan dog close. I hold onto the lion dog's neck and climb on his back. I push my little legs into his sides and I try not to fall when he starts to walk. I can feel myself slipping off his back, but I'm not afraid. My father catches me just in time. In his arms, he lifts me higher and higher. I squeal. My father says, when someone falls, you have to pick them up and lift them higher than they were before. After a night of heavy rain and wind, we wake to find heavy fruit scattered on the ground beneath our tree, and I crouch low and look for the fruits that are still good enough to eat. We know that if we eat too many, we'll get stomach aches and our mothers will be mad. If we eat only one or two, we can pretend we're eating hard candy, and it is a very special treat. In the quiet, we can hear the aunties talking about the war as they sow. They talk to each other about the river they had to cross to get to Thailand. They talk to each other about how Thailand wants more refugees to leave their country. They're scared to return to the old country. They're scared to go to a new country. The adults talk of war, and they get scared all over again, as if the war was not yet over. That afternoon, I asked my father about the war, and he says, "You're safe." He takes one of my small hands in his big one and tells me, "Look at your hand." He points down at the tips of my toes and says, "Look at your feet." He says, "Your hands and your feet will travel far to find peace." His eyes are as serious as his voice, so I say, "Yes, they will." It is rations day. Every week a big truck comes into the empty space in the middle of where we live. Thai soldiers give each family enough food for 3 days. They tell us they're practicing a humane deterrence policy so that no more Hmong people come into the country. I don't know what they're talking about, but I do what the adults around me do, and I nod my head like I understand. That evening before my bath, I looked down into the cement wall and asked my father why we live behind a gate. I want to know why other people can come in, but we can't leave. He says, "We live in a refugee camp, a place to hold people who are running away from wars." I asked, "Father, is all of the world a refugee camp?" "No," he says. "What is the world outside the camp like?" I asked. My father has no answers for me. The next day, as Mayans and I play beneath our tree, my father walks to where my mother and auntie sit sewing. I hear him say, "June, can you put Kalia in her nice dress and her hat?" My mother never allows me to wear them, except for pictures. They lower their voices. Finally, my mother shakes her head, puts down her embroidery, and gets up. She waves her hand for me to follow her. In our small room where we sleep on a bamboo platform bed on a folded blanket, my mother opens the suitcase where she keeps our nice clothes. She takes out the dress and the hat. She takes out my father's nice shirt and pants. Mother helps me take off my everyday t-shirt and shorts. She wipes me down with a shirt and then tells me to raise my hands over my head. I feel the cool fabric of the dress fall over my skin. I feel myself growing more and more beautiful with each button she closes at my back. Mother combs my hair before placing the hat on my head. She looks at me carefully, then shakes her head once again and smiles. Outside, my father is waiting with a camera he's borrowed. When we come out, he puts the camera in my mother's hands. I'll change quickly, he says. In our fine clothes, my father takes me to the tallest tree in the camp. He tells me to close my eyes and hold tight to his neck to not let go, no matter what. My Enzo stand at the base of the tree staring at us, hands over their mouths. Even the aunties in the shade take their eyes off the work in their hands to see what we're doing. I tremble a little as I feel my father climb up the tall tree. I hold as tight to him as I can, tighter than I have even held the lion dog or the Jackie Chan dog. I can feel my heart beating in my eyelids. At one point, my father slips a little and my mother yells from underneath, but I don't let go and I don't open my eyes. It is not until my father says, "Look, the world is bigger than this place," that I open my eyes. I'm higher than I have ever been. A breeze blows and the leaves shake and I shake with them. My father says, "Don't be afraid." And this is the first time I see that there's a bigger world around me. I see sky, I see birds flying high. I look down on my mother on the ground. She's run far from the base of the tree, back to the bamboo patio on stilts. There she holds the camera toward us. I see Zo and the lion dog and the Jackie Chan dog look up at us too, their tails wagging. They are all small and far away. I look from the houses we live in to the cement well, toward the open fields where we get rations, then away from the camp itself, until I see the distant mountains rising at the place where the sky meets the earth. What is on the other side of those mountains? Another breeze blows, but I don't shake. Father, the world is so big, I say. My father answers, "Yes, it is," he says softly. "One day, my little girl will journey far into the world, to the places her father has never been." My father tells me to smile at the camera, but I can't, because I now know that the world is bigger than anything I had imagined. My little legs will have to carry me far. And this next page is the actual photo taken from that day. I was 4 years old, born, raised in Ban Yunai refugee camp because of a war in Laos, a country I had never been. I was born in a place where my mom and dad told me that one day, I would become something bigger, something more. They told me that I was not a child of poverty or war or despair, that I was hope being born, the captain to a more beautiful future. In the place where I was born, suicide was the #1 cause of death. I grew up hearing people cry out, get up, get up. Don't die here. We have to go home. I grew up asking where home was. For my grandmother, home was the highest of the mountains. Mountain peaks so high that they tickle the belly of the sky. A world before a war. For my mom and my dad, it was an imagined future, perhaps across an ocean, where one day their little girl could become an educated person, whatever that meant. When somebody falls, it is our responsibility to lift them higher than they were before. Our stories do not belong just to ourselves. And you see that here. The author's photo is a picture of my father and me. I'm not here alone. I'm not here because of the things I've done. I've been lifted. All of those times when I faltered and when I fell. I was 6.5 years old and my family came to Minnesota as refugees of war from America's secret war in Laos. That tragedy across the raging Mekong, absent from most of our history books. I was 6.5 and all I knew was A, B, and C. And I will always remember this because a teacher in a red reindeer sweater, I'd never seen a reindeer before, at Battle Creek Elementary looked at me and she said, say your ABCs. And I looked up at her and I said A, B, and C. That was all I knew. But she said, no, say your ABCs. And I looked up at her and I said A, B, and C. And she shook her head, put me in the first grade anyway. I'm a writer, and when most people hear that I'm a writer who speaks fluent Hmong, they're surprised by my ability to write on the page. What they don't see, what they don't understand is that English is my first language on the page. Long before I learned how to write in Hmong on the page, I was trained to write in English. So I write like a native. I'm not ringing the doorbell, I'm not knocking on the door, waiting for anybody to open that door for me. I can open that door myself. And when I feel like it, I can slam that door back too. English is my first language on the page. I'm here because of my father. I'm here because of my grandmother, a woman who'd never been in a classroom, who did not know how to read or write, despite the fact that she could read the clouds in the sky, the trajectory of the wind, the things that grew from the earth. All of my life with her, she signed her name with a shaky X that stood in for Jolie. For those of you who are familiar with my work, I became a writer so that the world might remember Jolie along with me. Because my grandma's biggest fear was that she would be forgotten. She who had taught me in my moments of great despair, when I made all of those wishes on the highest stars in the sky and they didn't come true. She who would tell me, Menai, you're making a mistake, you're doing it wrong. The stars are too high. Send it on the airplanes. That means that they will be somewhere in the world and that life will take you there. My grandmother on all of those hot days when the ice cream truck came singing a song down our street and I couldn't find the quarters underneath the cushions. She would put sugar on my tongue and an ice cube and tell me that is sweet and cold coming together in the mouth of a child. My grandmother, who although she could not read or write, read all of the letters I sent her all of the years when we were apart with her hands. Read them so many times the ink had run off and all you could feel was the indentations I'd made onto the page. I became a writer. And literally America didn't know quite what to do with me. What do you do with a tiny little Hmong American writer coming of all places from the American Midwest, the heartland? My first book, The Late Homecomer. People came to my readings because they thought I had written a novel. How could we be alive? How could America have waged this war in Laos when it was forbidden by international decree? How could there have been such a massacre of a people? How come we didn't know? But they came to my readings, and they heard the words of the soft writer amplified by the power of a microphone, and they understood. They understood that belonging is a gift that each and every single one of us can give each other. We do not need a law. We do not need anyone. to tell us it is a gift that we can give each other. They understand that we're Americans only because when you look at me and I look at you, we see each other. We see the fact that unless you're a Native American, so many of us came from so far away to call this place home. And so it's particularly moving to be here tonight to celebrate the accomplishments of CAP. I was a child who knew Christmas only because of Toys for Tots. Every December 24th or 25th, my mom would disappear, and I wouldn't know where she was. Around 4 or 5 in the afternoon, she would come back with a garbage bag. In that garbage bag, there'd be a few stuffed animals, a few books. So that when I returned to school and people said, what did you get for Christmas? I could say that I got something. My mother was the one who used the WIC vouchers whenever we went grocery shopping. My father, with his tender poet's heart, bruised by so much, couldn't stand other people's, couldn't bear other people's stares. So it was my mother who stood there, who told us to keep our heads high, who said there is no shame in feeding your children. I'm here because of people who saw that we had come from so far away to build a life here, that we were trying our very best, but without support we couldn't do it. And so I became. I'm here today because, yes, every time I fell, my father lifted me higher than before. The wisdom of my grandmother fortified a shaky heart. She who believed that we must build our lives because of our faith, not our fears. I'm here on behalf of a tiny group of people that most of the world does not know about, who has always been shaped by the forces of a bigger world, who stand here to shape it too. I'm here because I'm grateful for the work of CAP, for the work of the individuals in this room, for the work of community. We belong because we belong to each other. And now I have to look at my clock. It's 5, oh, I'm so good, 5:57, 3 minutes left. At this time, I want to give you all an opportunity to speak to me. If you have any questions, please, I'd like to address it. I never write my speeches down. I don't believe in speaking to people. I want to be in conversation with them. And so please, if anybody has any questions or comments, please, talk to me.
Thank you for sharing.
If there are no questions or comments, then I will close out with a reading. This is the aftertaste, right? That I want you all to walk out of here with. This is from my newest book, Somewhere in the Unknown World, a collective refugee memoir. How can a memoir be collective? That was the literary question, and yet it is, because our experiences are collective. Because every time a writer writes, no matter where he or she or they are situated, it is the pulse of humanity that they feel. Minnesota and Wisconsin are not known for our diversity, and yet we are home to a great deal of refugees. And so I collected 15 of those stories in this book, and I'll do a quick reading from the book. Dedication. For the refugees from everywhere, men, women, and children whose fates have been held by the interests of nations, whose rights have been contested and denied, whose thirst and hunger go unheeded and unseen. And it opens up with a poem by the great American poet, the one and only Lucille Clifton, quilting. Somewhere in the unknown world, a yellow-eyed woman sits with her daughter, quilting. Some otherwhere, alchemists mumble over pots. Their chemistry stirs into science. Their science freezes into stone. In the unknown world, the woman, threading together her need and her needle, nods toward the smiling girl. Remember, this will keep us warm. How does this poem end? Do the daughters quilt? Do the alchemists practice their tables? Do the worlds continue spinning away from each other forever? And I'll do Let's see. This has to be short, so we'll do this part. Nata's same old tired world. The woman spent all of her time looking at flowers on the internet. She knew how to find and save the photos, flowers from everywhere. From around the world, the tulip fields of Holland, the orchids of Thailand, the beautiful Buddhist lotus ponds, the purple heathers abloom on the English moors. Once she saved the photos, she passed the days editing them, changing the filters and cropping the images. She had over 11,000 pictures on her phone. Sometimes she was afraid. She saw black things the size of cats move across the living room floor, her eyes frantic. She made no sound. Instead, she froze in place, her only movement her eyes helplessly searching for an exit from her body. She had vivid dreams of handsome men who came into her life on horses. They all wanted to marry her and take her away. In the dreams, she wanted to go with them, except she couldn't quite lift herself off the ground, anchored firmly to the earth. Sometimes she woke up reaching for the handsome men, only to feel the empty, lonely air of their absence. She couldn't sleep at night. She could sleep at night without the drugs. Even with them during the day, she was tired, drowsy, had no heart for anything or anyone. Sometimes she cried for her dead father. It had been nearly half a century since his death, but to her it was fresh as the morning. She believed she knew where he was, always on the edge of the horizon. There he waited for her with wings like birds. He sent messages to her. He offered a promise to lift her high up so that they could soar through the skies together. From there, he told her, she would miss her children because she could still see them on earth. Most of the time, though, she spent her days on the sofa looking at her phone. She did not have the energy to cook or clean, two things she had always attended to as a matter of life and death for her children. At the doctor's office, the nurses gave her evaluation worksheets designed to see if she was healthy or not. The questions asked if she was feeling any pain in her body. If yes, where? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did she hurt? How often did she hurt? Was the pain less or more than at the last visit? The questions asked if she had energy for the daily work of the living. Was she able to focus on a book or a television show? Was this more or less than the last visit? Each time she answered the same. The doctors increased the dosage of her medication. When one prescription did not work, the doctor shifted to another. The woman was put on Wellbutrin, Prozac, Zoloft, Paxil, Effexor, Cymbalta, and more. One pill made her believe that she was on the cusp of death. Her heart started racing. She grew short of breath. She spoke her death wishes. Keep the funeral simple. I don't want my death to be complicated. At the doctor's office, on the suicide question, she shook her head adamantly and said, my biggest fear is that I'll die and leave my children behind. I would never kill myself. She wept. The doctor asked why she was so sad. She answered, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm out of work. I'm too young to be useless. My children need a mother who can take care of them. The doctor wanted her to go out into the world. Yes, she could no longer find a job with her shoulder, her disability documented, but perhaps she could volunteer in a community organization. She couldn't drive, she didn't speak good enough English, her hands hurt, her feet hurt, her neck hurt, she was falling apart. The doctor said she could not change the conditions of the woman's life. The only thing she could do was change the conditions of her head. No one knew what to do with her heart. And that is the work of CAP. That is the work of each of us as individuals. We are in the business of holding true the pieces of each other's heart. That is what I do when I go onto the page. That is what I do when I stand in front of a room. I'm in the business of holding the human heart. And so are all of you. Thank you so much for having me.
touched my heart. So thank you for being here with us tonight. And thank you to all of you for joining us in celebrating the work of CAP Services. Your dedication to our programs, services, and mission to transform people and communities to advance social and economic justice is the reason we are all here today. If you would like to make a gift to CAP, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't make that request. You will see there is a QR code on your tables to make an online donation. We would certainly accept that. Or you can visit our website at capservices.org/donate to make a donation online there. We appreciate all of your generosity and your support that enables us to do our work every day. I would like to mention that Kalia will be hosting a book signing after this event, and she also has some books for sale at this table over here to my left. So please stop by and talk with her in person. I know in this type of a setting it's hard to have a conversation, so I do hope some of you will reach out to her and share your works with her, because I know you were probably impacted as much as I was. So this concludes our evening. We hope you enjoyed our first in-person community celebration since 2019. So we wish you all well, and please drive safe on your way home. And a special note for CAP's Board of Directors, we are still meeting this evening. We will be meeting in the room next door over here, and we also have some breakout rooms for our committee meetings that will occur at 6:30. So again, thank you all, and have a wonderful evening. Take care.